This is Aussie Mac Zone. We'll cover everything Apple, including Macs, iPhones, iPads, and more. All this from an Aussie perspective. Sit back, relax, and insert yourself into the zone. The Aussie Mac Zone.
Hi everybody, welcome to show 315 Aussie Mac Zone. Nearly Christmas. Zarn, how are you?
Excellent. How are you, Michael?
Very good,
You're
thanks.
right,
Mate.
it is nearly Christmas. Done lots of Christmas stuff over the weekend.
Yeah.
Had a great time with the kids.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
We've got another guest tonight, just over my shoulder. You can see he's very busy, having a snooze on the table there. Hopefully he won't interrupt too much.
You may come and get a pat now and then.
Tonight brought to you by IT Help to You and Microseconds. And still again, a big thanks to all the firefighters across Australia and all the ones visiting from overseas. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All we can do is say thanks. Yeah, so.
We wish there was more we could do.
Yes. So our Aussie Apple ramblings this week start with Canberra launches digital platforms plan of attack. ZNet reports it will include a review of the Privacy Act and the creation of a dedicated unit within the ACCC to monitor digital platforms. The federal government has agreed with the determination of the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission that the country needs to undertake a reform to prepare for the already here digital age. The ACCC's Digital Platforms Inquiry in July made a total of 23 recommendations that covered competition, consumer protection, privacy and media regulatory reform. In response, the government has announced the development of a roadmap for a program of work and a series of reforms to promote competition, enhance consumer protection and support a sustainable Australian media landscape in the digital age. In regulating in the digital age, government response and implementation roadmap for the Digital Platforms Inquiry, they must get paid by the letter, the government said it identified areas for immediate reform, as well as those requiring longer term work. Items for immediate action, the 19-page document says, include the establishment of a special unit that will monitor and report on the state of competition and consumer protection in digital platform markets, take enhancement action as necessary and then undertake inquiries as directed by the Treasurer, starting with the supply of online advertising and ad tech services.
Hi, Karen, and thank you.
Hello, Karen. Thank you, yeah. One thing that they were talking about this week with regards to the government, they were talking about
it's never anything good at the moment. So.
It might have been in America, might not have been here, but they were talking about, or it might have been Europe, making, say for example,
most statements
Facebook or Google or just say Facebook and Google, for example, pay for the news that they're getting, but the people that are actually putting the news up there in a lot of cases, for example, out here is the ABC. They promote their Facebook page all the time and they put stories up there.
Yep.
Why has Facebook got to pay for it? If they're trying to promote you to get you to come and watch that little story, it's like putting an ad up there, whereas you should be paying Facebook for the ad. I know it's hard, and I know times are changing, but if I put an ad, I want to write and put an ad in the newspaper, they're going to charge me for it.
Yes and no. Facebook is a dying platform anyway, and I think that them saying that they, if they want them there, then they should have to pay for it. I agree. Like if they want to stay relevant, if Facebook wants to stay relevant and doesn't want to be this dying platform, then maybe it should look at that and come across and maybe say yes and pay them. Just for a different view.
That's all right. That's what we're here with. That's a different view is what I want.
Yep.
But yeah, just old school. Whereas if I put an ad somewhere, I expect to get paid, or I expect to pay for the ad. So
again, I totally agree, especially when we're talking even 90s and stuff like that. When you did have to pay for your ad, You had to pay to get it in the trading post or the newspaper or whatever on the radio and that sort of stuff. But now, when there's so many different multimedia companies, if you want to stay relevant and be relevant to it's hard to say. What am I trying to say? If you want to stay relevant to the people you're trying to bring in, then sometimes you do have to do that. Mm-hmm. It's like paying a publicist.
Yeah. Now, here's a good one for us. Siri saves US college student after Aussie car crash into Winnebago River. 9 to 5 Mac tells us.
Hey, Willie.
Willie, we often hear stories of Apple Watch playing a role in saving someone's life, but this time it was Siri on an iPhone. KIMT News in Iowa tells the story of the student, an 18-year-old, who was on his way to class at North Iowa Area Community College when he hit a patch of ice on the road. When Gale hit the ice, his Jeep slid off the road and plunged into the Winnebago River. He explains the harrowing experience. I turned to the right, and from there everything just went blurry. I didn't know where I was going, and then I just didn't know what to do. I was just thinking in my head, I think I'm going to die, he said. When Gale realised he was in the river, he quickly rolled down the window so his Jeep didn't sink, but he had to figure out a way to contact emergency services as well. That's when he got the idea to use Siri. He had lost his phone in the crash, but he knew it had to be somewhere close, so he took advantage of Hey Siri support. It's all right, Siri. Siri was successfully able to reach emergency service, allowing Gale to share his current location and situation with authorities. Once the first responders arrived, the situation was getting worse as water levels increased. The firefighters on scene told Gale he had to walk out of the river as there was no other available option. Gale did just that and was taken to Mercy One North Iowa Hospital, where he was treated for shock and later released. This is one of the more unique stories we've heard in regards to an Apple product playing a crucial role for a user. It's incredibly impressive that Siri was able to respond to Gale's commands, even as he was stranded in the Winnebago River.
Yes.
So, thank you to all the Apple staff.
Exactly, that's amazing. That's so cool.
What about Apple has more job openings than ever before? iDrop News is reporting Apple currently has more job openings than it's had in years, according to new data published this week by research firm ThinkNum. The Cupertino tech giant currently has 5,280 open positions listed on its job webpage. That's up from a low 3,900 last April and 530 more openings than this time last year, showing a growth of 11% year over year. But the openings just don't hint that Apple is still growing. The types of open positions available also show off how Apple has diversified over the years. Apple has long been a hardware-focused company, first producing computers, then smartphones, tablets and wearables. Now the company is in the midst of a new shift to a services and software-heavy business. As ThinkNum points out, Apple is now hiring more services and software employees than hardware ones. But while that change may make sense, it's also fairly recent. Back in Q2 2018, hardware hirings were still the most common. Since then, software and services openings have been steadily outpacing hardware. In the past quarter, the two categories trumped hardware as far as daily listings by about 9,000 openings, ThinkNum reported. That's largely in line with market predictions. Morgan Stanley, for example, expects services to overtake the iPhone as Apple's primary revenue within the next few years. The data also shows off Apple growing a physical footprint. While the majority of openings are still Cupertino based, there's still an increasing number of cities where Apple is building new offices. That includes Austin, Texas, and San Diego, California. Local hires in San Diego are significant because the area is chipmaker Qualcomm's backyard. Amid rumours of a first-party Apple smartphone modem, a footprint in the engineering hotbed could help boost Apple's chip development. Apple previously promised to create more than 1,000 jobs in the area and open an engineering facility by the end of the year. Austin, on the other hand, has long been an assembly hub for Apple. The company recently opened a new campus to join the long-standing manufacturing plants in the city, where Apple produces the Mac Pro. The campus is all Now, the new Apple campus is also having a neighbourhood open day that I heard about today. So,
awesome!
Special invites that are not transferable have been sent to people that live very close to the campus. We don't know what that involves or what's in, what part of the campus they're going to see or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're having an open day. So it's a neighbourhood day, as they call it. And I think it's also to do with like bring a present so they can donate it to kids' charities.
Oh yeah, awesome!
I think that's part of the thing as well.
That's really cool. Yeah, it'd probably be something for Christmas or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Now, a reminder, this week we are brought to you by Microseconds. And with regards to Microseconds...
Yeah. That one?
That's the one, yeah. Oh, I could have done it from here, I think. Yeah, anyway. Now, to read... As I said, I've known Microseconds personally for 30 years. They're a great company. I was there today, for example, delivering some equipment to them. And yeah, it's a good bunch of people working there as well. Now, I'll read out their ad. Microseconds has acquired some rather nice MacBook Pro 15-inch Retinas mid-2015. These are the bee's knees as far as functionality goes. Add to that the nice feel of the trackpad and keyboard, the revolutionary Iris Pro graphics chip, and the spec'd-out memory and hard drive. They are a great alternative to the new models. Instead of spending over $4,000 on the new MacBook Pros, these models are lucratively priced. The 2.2 units with 16 gig of memory and a 500 gig SSD come in at $1,650, while the faster 2.5s with similar memory and hard drive are still at $1,800. And that's an absolute bargain, seriously, because you're going to get a MacBook Air for like $900.
Yeah.
Nowhere, and that's maybe an 8 gig MacBook Air with a 125 gig drive is say $800 or $900 second hand. $1,800 for that for 16 gig of memory and a 500 gig SSD.
Yeah.
And
not just that, show me a PC, like laptop that's 5 years old that's still running that well, or even relevant to what we're trying to do today. That's
true. That is true.
So,
yeah. Now, there's a guy that's come a long way in the last little bit, Michael Seamons. So he's just moved to the Twit network, so he's hosting shows on the Twit network. He's been involved with iMore for ages.
Twitch or Twit?
Twit.
Okay.
Twit network. Yeah. This Week in Tech.
Okay.
They've got lots of podcast network.
Yeah.
And a few other shows that he's involved with. Lots of different other podcasts. And he personally uses a 2015 MacBook Pro. So, and he's got his choice of basically any machine.
Mm.
His personal machine is a 2015 MacBook Pro. That just gives you an idea about 2015 MacBook Pros. And Microseconds has got a bargain going there. Absolute bargain.
By the way, lesson learned, don't drink soft drink when you're doing your podcast.
Water.
Yeah. I said, I'll have a sneaky can of drink.
Hello, Jenny Bramley. Thank you for watching.
I don't know, Jenny. I don't even know. Yeah.
Now, what about gaming, Zarn? This is you, mate.
No, this is me. So I was looking at this earlier this week to just review some puzzler games. I wanted something a bit different and out there, because I like my puzzler games, but I like them to have a bit of, substance as well. And so I found two, I'd call them gems. They're both pretty different. And I just want to know that they're both from Apple Arcade, which is awesome. Apple still isn't letting us down. They're just throwing stuff at us left, right, and centre. So I haven't gone out to search anywhere else. I've just searched in Apple Arcade. Now the first one we've got is called Rosie's Reality. It's about a little cheeky droid, smart mouth. She's got to make her way to save some of her other droids from just frying out really, and so she then has to work her way around other machines that are also on the fritz. You've got to use certain tiles to space out. You only have a certain amount of tiles to space out where you've got to go, fix what you need to do, get to your checkpoint. Each time you do that and level up, it gets harder and harder, so on. And you end up with bigger spaces, more turns. So you've got certain pads will send you one way, certain pads send you other. Some pads are just straight ahead, others you can use to in any direction. It was really, really fun, just because of the graphics were outstanding for one. I love the graphics and the cheekiness of the little droid, and I think it was a good game. So I'm going to give it 3.5 apples this week for Rosie's Reality. So, and my next one is called Mini Motorways. This is another puzzler, but it's different again. So you're basically building a city via its highways and roads. You've got to work out how to get to your destination the quickest way. It's set out in tile form. You use your roads, but it goes by tiles. And so you've got to count your tiles out, make sure that you're using the right amount, you don't run out, because you can get stuck. And if you get stuck, you're out, your city crashes, it's no good. But again, this one works in weeks. So, you're at your first 3 weeks of this, your first 5 weeks of that, and it gives you extra prizes for how well you did, how many commuters you got through on the road, if you build a motorway, if you use stop signs, if you use traffic lights, if you use a bridge, that sort of stuff. I like this one a little bit more, just because you really have to think about where you're going to put these roads and where you're going to put the lights, everything like that, because otherwise, the structure doesn't work, and you die out pretty quickly. So it's all about laying out your city structure right the first time. So sort of urban planning, that sort of stuff. It was great fun. I really liked it. So I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 apples. It's a car. It's not really, you're not driving, but and that sort of stuff. And I like those games. So I've got one more game. Am I correct? G'day, Tim. I just seen that you joined. Oh yeah, it says it right there. Look at that. This one is called.
This is
here we
the
go.
whole thing.
There we go. Apple launches Ultimate Rivals from Bitfry Game Studios. All new sports game franchise available today exclusively on Apple Arcade. I haven't played this game. I'm literally reading it for the first time. I will get a chance to check it out. I actually seen the ad for it earlier today. And it looked really good. I actually looked at and watched the trailer, for the game. So Bitfry Game Studio Inc., an independent multi-platform developer and publisher of sports video games, is composed of gaming as well as entertainment and sports veterans, and is the first studio to combine licenses from all unions as well as 4 leagues into a single gaming franchise. Bitfry has secured groundbreaking licenses, agreements, and 9 major professional sports organizations, including NHL, NHL Players Association, NHLPA, NBA. NBA stands for National Basketball National Basketball Players Association as well, MLB Players Association, MLBPA, and FLPA, Women's National Basketball Players Association, which is WNBPA, US WNTP, all the letters in the alphabet, as well as Wayne Gretzky. You can't have sports games without Gretzky, can you? Hey?
So, yeah.
Yeah. So what's it say? It says
That's right. Just
yeah. So keep them coming, Apple Arcade. I'm telling you now, there's something there for everybody. I've played a different style of game since Apple Arcade worked out every single week. Normally 2 or 3 games a week I'm playing. So get in there, subscribe, and get playing. Yeah. All right. So, Michael.
thank you. Now, here's one. Tesla on Autopilot crashes into cop car because driver was checking on dog, and it's not a damn self-driving car. Gizmodo reports, just in case you need a little reminder as to whether or not you lived in a fictional 2019 where we have fully autonomous self-driving vehicles, or the actual 2019 where we have, at best, partially self-driving vehicles that require constant driver attention. This should be a good reminder. Over the weekend, a Tesla Model 3 with autopilot engaged crashed into the back of both a police car and another vehicle. This is because the 2019 we are living in is not the one where we have truly self-driving vehicles. Sorry. The wreck happened early Saturday.
We were meant to have them in 2015 if you watch Back to the Future.
Yeah. Near Norwalk, Connecticut. The Tesla Model 3 with a license plate that helpfully reads Model 3, just so you really know what car's belong to, had its autopilot system engaged at the time of the crash. Despite what many people seem to think, and some frankly confusing terminology on Tesla's website and marketing materials, autopilot is not a fully self-driving system. As Tesla like to remind us, every time this happens, there is how they describe the system's use themselves. Before enabling autopilot, the driver first needs to agree to keep both hands on the wheel and always to maintain control and responsibility for your vehicle. Subsequently, every time the driver engages autopilot, they are shown a visual reminder to keep your hands on the wheel. Autopilot is intended for use with a fully attentive driver who has their hands on the wheel and is prepared to take over at any time. Requiring the driver to be ready to take control at a moment's notice is a self-defining characteristic of a level 2 autonomous driving system, which is not autonomous at all, but really more an advanced driver assist. This means doing things like checking on your dog in the back seat while the car is driving at highway speeds is an absolutely idiotic idea, and exactly what this driver did, which is why they weren't able to take control of the car when it was clear it would be running into the stopped police car and the disabled car in front of the police car. Keep in mind, this is not a situation that would have confused a human. Well, it has been known to confuse a human.
I've seen it a few
when they're
times.
Absolutely tanked or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I've seen those videos on YouTube.
The cars were stopped with their hazard lights on, along with the flares set to warn drivers that the cars were there, immobile. These were hardly hidden cars and not unusual circumstances in the slightest. The driver was charged with reckless driving and reckless endangerment because if you're driving a car, you need to be paying attention. Even if you love Elon Musk and Tesla is so powerful and really you can't just feel it deep inside you, where music is born. If you still think that Tesla's autopilot system is close enough to be fully self-driving, then let's try an analogy. If you had a chauffeur that was an excellent driver 80% of the time, but just so you know, that was no narcoleptic and could fall dead asleep without warning at any moment, would you be okay with being driven around by them? I'm not sure I would. Now, that's what's going on here. Autopilot has no graceful failover. If something fails to work like it should, for any number of reasons, it needs a human at the wheel paying attention to take immediate control. The system may not even be aware there's a problem until way too late. That's why it needs your practiced, moist human driver's eyes watching as well.
Moist.
Remember, it's a driving assist system, not a self-driving system.
That's right.
So pull over to check your dogs. If you stop, it'll be much easier to ask who's a good boy or girl too, and you need if you need that information. Now, one other thing about the Teslas, they have been known to not avoid park vehicles, like things that aren't moving on the road, whether it's a car or a crate that's fallen off a truck, because this particular other bit of material isn't moving, confuses the heck out of the system for some reason. So they've been known to have issues with that before. So yes, not autonomous, just driver assist.
People clearly aren't understanding that it's a driver assist function. Like, you can't just set it and walk away. You know, it's not a rice cooker.
If you're in an aeroplane, even though they're on autopilot, do you expect them to be all out the front, all out the back, talking to you and having a drink? And
Oh, exactly.
just in case. Just in case. Now, also, don't forget, we are brought to you by ithelptoyou.com.au. Keeping IT simple, keeping it simple, whatever you want to put it. Go to the website, www.ithelptoyou.com.au. Have a look on Aussie Mac Zone. There's things in there, Apple News, all the Aussie Mac Zone stuff. ithelptoyou.com.au. Now, what about this one? Apple is making its first appearance in decades at CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show in, I think it's in Las Vegas from memory. Now, Apple is set, this is 9 to 5 again, Apple is set to make its return to the Consumer Electronics Show in less than a month. CES 2020 officially begins on US January 7, and Apple will make a formal appearance at the conference for the first time since 1992, this time to talk about privacy. First spotted by Bloomberg, Apple's Senior Director of Privacy, Jane Horvath, will speak at CES during a Chief Privacy Officer Roundtable. The CES schedule indicates that this discussion will focus on things like regulation, consumer privacy at scale, and more. Privacy is now a strategic imperative for all consumer businesses. The future is private. Facebook, privacy is a human right. Apple, and a more private web. Google. How do companies build privacy at scale? Will regulation be a fragmented patchwork? Most importantly, what do consumers want? The roundtable will be moderated by Rajeev Shan, Head of Research at Wing Venture Capital. Privacy executives from Facebook and Procter & Gamble will also be included in the event, as well as a commissioner for the Federal Trade Commission. Now, Apple didn't have a formal presence at CES last year, but the company strategically placed privately focused billboards throughout Las Vegas during the conference, and this marks the first time that Apple has formally appeared since 1992. At CES 2019 earlier this year, Apple privately met with members of Tech Press to demonstrate upcoming HomeKit technology. Apple did not have a formal booth or a public presence of any sort though. The roundtable will take place on US Tuesday the 7th at 1 p.m. Pacific time or 4 p.m. Eastern, and will be streamed live on the CES website. And I'll try and remember to put it up on the Aussie Mac Zone homepage on Apple News, just to remind people, because it'd definitely be worth a look. Definitely be worth a look. I've got 2 Tim Cook stories too. It's not bad.
Awesome.
Tim Cook is in Japan meeting app developers aged 13 to 84.
Awesome.
Tim tweeted about his meeting with local app developers, and what a treat to reunite with Masako-san and Hiraki-san, some of our imaginative developers who prove that no matter your age, coding opens up new opportunities to follow your dreams. Wonderful to see you at Apple. Ometsando. Cook had previously met both Ometsando, Masako and Wakimaya, dubbed the world's oldest app developer, and June Takano, a developer who started working on apps at age 10 at WWDC 2017. The meetings took place at Apple's Omid Sando store, which opened in 2014 and was remodelled earlier this year. There were many more meetings with app developers elsewhere. Cook's journey continued to a visit to Marunouchi, the country's largest Apple store, which opened in September. There he met students from a local primary school. Apple spoke at the time about the unique design features of the store. Apple's fifth store in Tokyo features a unique facade with two-storey vitrine windows made from specially cast aluminium to obtain three-dimensional rounded corners. The first of their kind. The windows allow the vibrant street life of the surrounding area to connect with the store. Inside, native bamboo lines the window openings to bring the outside in. The double-height atrium in the heart of the store connects both levels and is the new home for Today at Apple in Tokyo. Now, Cook's agenda included a meeting with singer-songwriter Jen Hoshino, who was the first Japanese DJ on Beat One. Now, also, Cook talks China, antitrust probes, coding and education, and more in the interview. Apple, in an interview last Tuesday, covered a range of hot button topics from Apple's reliance on Chinese labour to ongoing antitrust probes in the US and Europe, while hammering home oft-repeated corporate messages like the importance of user privacy. Speaking with Nikkei Asian Review during his Japanese tour, Cook touted Apple's track record as a major driver of US economic growth, saying the company created well over 2 million jobs domestically. That's a lot of people, isn't it?
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. In August, Apple
4 million jobs.
Said it created more than 2.4 million jobs spread across suppliers, developers, and its own corporate and Apple Store staff.
That's crazy.
Well, you think you go to the Apple Store just in Penrith, and there might be 40 people walking around on a particular,
Yeah.
The glass on this iPhone is made from Corning in Kentucky. Several of the semiconductors in the phone are made in the United States, Cook told Nikkei. There's enormous manufacturing happening in the US, just not the assembly of the final product. The executive went on to defend Apple's reliance on Chinese manufacturers and suppliers, a point of contention for some US lawmakers, including President Donald Trump, who believe Apple should shift those duties to US companies. That way we do manufacturing is look at countries and look to see what skills are resident in each country, and we pick the best, Cook said. During his time in Japan, Cook visited Seiko Advance, an ink supplier whose product is used in iPhone and other devices. Seiko Advance developed ink and an application process to create high-quality space grey, silver, midnight green and gold hues of iPhone 11 Pro, for example, and has done the same for previous Apple devices.
Awesome.
They're the reason that we're able to put colour on the iPhone, he said. We've worked with them for years and we've grown together. Both parties enjoy working together and we push each other to innovate more. Commenting on smartphone sales, which have slowed over the past couple of years, in part due to saturation and slow to mature growth markets, Cook implied the segment has yet to reach its peak. I know of no one who would call a 12-year-old mature, he said, referencing the iPhone's 12-year history. Sometimes these steps are humongous. Sometimes these steps are smaller. But the key is to always make things better, not just change for change's sake. He added that Apple's DNA has never been stronger on the innovation front, saying its product line has never been stronger. On antitrust, Cook took issue with US and European Union investigations into Apple's business, saying the company does not monopolise any one industry category. Further, Apple is not in the same business as fellow tech companies Facebook and Google, which also targets of the probe, Cook said. I agree.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between someone who's making something and all the other stuff that Apple do.
Yeah.
Like even they complain about the Apple's being very strict with its Apple Store. I'm quite happy for that because I know that there's no crap getting through.
Yep.
And when there is the sky fall on them, it's and they're known to fix their other problems very quickly. So now talking about again, Apple and Safari privacy features are driving down prices for advertisers at the cost of accuracy. In the 2 years, since Apple released Safari's intelligent tracking prevention feature that keeps websites from tracking users around the web, it looks to have almost totally eliminated the ability for advertisers to market to specific demographics. The new report from The Information dives into how Apple's offensive against ads has made things more difficult for advertisers while aiming for greater user privacy. Executives in the online publishing industry speaking with The Information say that Apple has been stunningly effective with its goal of intelligent tracking prevention, stopping websites from knowing what users are doing on the web. One of the results of this over the last 2 years is that costs for advertisers have dropped significantly for Safari users, while they've actually gone up for Chrome. The cost of reaching Safari users has fallen over 60% in the past 2 years, according to data from ad tech firm Rubicon Project. Meanwhile, ad prices on Google's Chrome browser have risen slightly. While that might sound like a positive thing for advertisers, the reason the price of Safari ads has gone down is that they're less desirable. Because of intelligent tracking prevention, marketers can't focus on specific demographics, for example, like those in higher income brackets. The allure of I think they can, because basically if you can afford an Apple phone, that would put you in a higher income bracket, I would think. So just going straight to Safari points you in a higher income bracket. But anyway, the allure of a Safari user in an auction has plummeted, said Rubicon Project CEO Michael Barrett. There is no easy ability to ID a user. This has a great impact in the US than elsewhere, since over 50% of mobile browsing happens on Safari. And while users can opt to turn off intelligent tracking, data shows that most don't. Only about 9% of Safari users on an iPhone allow outside companies to track where they go on the web, according to Nativo, which sells software for online ad selling. It's a similar story on desktop, although Safari has only 13% of the desktop browser market. In comparison, 79% of people who use Google's Chrome browser allow advertisers to track their browsing habits on mobile devices through cookies. Nativo doesn't have historical data, so couldn't say what percentages they were in the past. Now, as 9to5Mac's Ben Lovejoy previously noted, the benefit of allowing cross-site tracking is that you get personalised ads versus more random ones. Notably, another consequence of Safari's ITP is that competitors have benefited. The challenge of reaching people through cookie-based ads is good news for our internet platforms such as Facebook, Google and Amazon that continue to offer targeted ads based on their own sites. Facebook, for instance, sells targeted ads that use people's profile data and activity on the app. Amazon sells targeted ads because on items people took at the retail site. I've got a problem with Amazon too, just while we're here talking about ads, because I do a search on amazon.com.au, like the Amazon Australian, and it says, yes, you're on the Australian site. I do a search for something, blah, 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 go through it, press the buy button, and it says, this store doesn't deliver to Australia.
Yeah.
So why is it even on the Australian Amazon site? Yeah. Like, they're supposed to be a smart company. Why is it even there? Yeah. That's a major hassle for me. That's enough to nearly stop me using Amazon. Or that is a reason I stop using Amazon most of the time. Apple users are more valuable to advertisers based on demographics, being higher income, said Jason Kint, CEO of industry trade group Digital Content Next. He argues that Safari users have been wrongly devalued in the short term and says marketers just need to find better ways to reach them online. I won't go into that. Because what they want to do is snake you.
Yeah.
Basically.
I hate it. I hate it. Like, if I want to find something, I can find it. I don't need someone's help. You know, I know how to use the search bar and everything like that. And I definitely don't want... And they're saying Facebook uses this, Facebook uses that. There's been so many times that I've said to somebody, while on Facebook, I've been on Facebook, put my phone down, I was still talking while tapping away, and said to somebody, oh, you know, I'm doing this, this and this. And then a few hours later, Facebook will come up with an ad and say, oh, are you looking for this? Yeah. You know?
I know. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Give them credit, at least listening to you.
Yeah, they're definitely listening. That's for sure.
Now, something that appeared to work for me on the weekend in Sydney. There was a big thing just the other week about the Express Travel Pass, which is in part of your Apple Wallet, and it's so that you can tap on and off without actually double tapping the app. Also, if your phone's going flat or it has gone flat, you get something like 4 hours or something. There must be just enough power in there for the what do you call those chips on the card readers? Anyway,
yeah.
For your phone to tap on and off. So it appears to work on the weekend for me.
Yeah.
Express Travel in Sydney. So you can turn it on and off in your wallet app.
I turned mine on to check it out, then turned it back off because I've got an Opal card. And I didn't want to accidentally tap with my phone and my Opal card. But yeah, I was out with Michael all weekend and seeing it happen. It was great. It's in case you've left your Opal card at home, or you just don't even want to get an Opal card.
Yeah.
Depends
how much you travel these days. Yeah.
You can literally just use your phone now without your Opal card, and it's saving plastic, I guess, and it's also you don't have to register it or anything like that. So yeah.
Now, because we're coming up to the holidays, there's a thing called, if you look up BagSmart's electronic organiser, which is just a little plasticky rubbery bag with some elastic on the inside of it for tidying up your cables, putting your dongles in, putting your charger in for your phone, having it all nicely organised in one little bag. So you can pick them up, look up BagSmart's electronic organiser, look it up on eBay, Amazon if you want to. Because they're down like, I don't know, $15, $16 in Australia, and they're great. I've got quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Because I've got one for one set of connectors and one for another set of connectors, etc. So that's the way I keep my stuff. So yeah, BagSmart's electronic organiser. I can just, you should be able to buy it now and still get it in time if you're going away for Christmas.
Awesome. Sorry for my tiredness and fidgety tonight, guys. I've got a 11-month-old child who sometimes doesn't sleep, so I'm a little bit tired.
Next week I'll do a big article about sharing our passwords with notes so that people in your family can still have your passwords, which is important. You mightn't think so when you're 21, but when you're 60, you've got to think about that sort of stuff. And also,
I share my
and
passwords
it's not
for
hard
a lot
to
of
protect. Yeah.
A lot of stuff with my whole more than one member of my family. So
yeah, and you can put it somewhere in Notes, in Apple Notes. You can put it in, create a lock note, and once they've got the password for that, they can get in. But that's fine, So, and it's easy for you to, if I get cranky with him, I can just change the password and he won't be able to get in.
That's right.
So yeah, please keep that in mind. Now, don't forget, show notes link each week on our show upload. The link being aussiemaxzone.com.au/AMZ315 this week. There you'll see the last 6 weeks' shows. If you want to know anything, you can email Zarn or Michael at AussieMaxZone. Spotify, just search Aussie Mac Zone. Apple News, Aussie Mac Zone. Don't you just choose us and click on the heart.
Make sure you like us.
That's right, please. Thanks to our sponsors this week being Microseconds at Ultimo in Sydney. We'll send you stuff anywhere around the world.
Anywhere.
And IT Help to you. And most importantly, our supporters, you, our listeners. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Zarn, the big sign-off, please, sir.
Before I sign off, make sure you have a very wonderful but safe holidays.
Yes.
Don't rush to get anywhere. Take your time. Be patient. And be nice to people. All right?
Yeah, be nice. So much crap.
Be nice to people. It doesn't take much out of your day just to smile instead of grunt.
Yeah.
So remember...
Say hello to street sweepers.
Yeah.
Yeah, people tidying up in the street. No one ever says thanks to them.
No.
It costs nothing to say hello.
The lady that cleared our table for lunch the other day in Chinatown.
Yeah.
I said, thank you, and then she smiled so much because I watched her clear 3 other tables and no one said anything. So,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, the postie. Say hi to your postie.
You should always say hi to your postie anyway. You should know your postie's name. You know your postie's name, say hi to your postie, you're always going to get your mail.
Yeah, think little things like that cost nothing to say hello.
Yeah.
Say thanks to you, like I said, the street sweeper, person walking along, picking up the rubbish, even where you work.
Yep.
Say hi to the cleaner. Costs you nothing.
Yep. So remember, guys, an apple a day keeps the androids away. Merry Christmas.